The last passenger. The bus driver swore the vehicle was empty, yet I could still see a pale figure seated 2 rows behind me in the reflection of the glass. When I turned, the seat was bare, but the reflection kept smiling. Moonlight visitor. As I gazed at the full moon, I noticed a massive silhouette flying across its face. Something with wings too wide to be a bird. A few minutes later, the sound of those wings began beating just above my house. The frozen lake. My friends dared me to skate across the abandoned lake. But halfway across, I heard pounding from beneath the ice. Then a pale hand slapped against the frozen surface, directly under my feet. The hatchling. I thought it was just a strange egg washed up on the beach, until it cracked open, revealing a scaled eye that blinked at me. The tide pulled back, and the water began to rise unnaturally fast. Static channel. I left the TV on static overnight, but in the morning, a distorted face was pressed against the screen from the inside, and its lips moved in sync with my own thoughts. The forgotten room. Exploring the abandoned hospital, we found a door that wasn't on the blueprints. Inside were fresh footprints circling the room. Footprints that weren't ours. The pale diver. When my sonar showed something swimming hundreds of feet below, I thought it was just a whale. Then it surfaced, pale and humanoid, and it opened its mouth, wider than a shark. Whispers in the corn. The wind rustled through the cornfield, but then the stalks bent in a wave as something tall moved through them. The whispers changed, shifted. Then they began whispering my name. The cave painter. We thought the cave drawings were prehistoric, until a fresh one appeared, showing us standing in the chamber. Then a shadow that looked exactly like ours lifted its head and smiled. Gaze at the bottom. I leaned over the old wishing well and saw my reflection smiling, even though I wasn't smiling. Then it reached up towards me from the water. The watchtower. The lighthouse had been abandoned for decades, yet tonight its beam turned slowly across the waves, and in its brief sweep of light, Something massive moved beneath the water. The crying mask. The porcelain mask in the antique shop looked harmless, till I noticed tears running down its cheeks. The shopkeeper whispered nervously, "Don't turn around. It only cries when it knows the spirit is behind you." The footsteps. I ran upstairs to escape the heavy footsteps coming from the basement. But now the footsteps are upstairs, and I never heard them come up. The sleeping forest. The trees seemed to sway with the breeze, till I realized the sound wasn't wind. It was breathing. Something far larger than the forest itself was asleep beneath the soil. The silent astronaut. We found a drifting spacesuit with no one inside, yet its visor kept fogging up, as though something were breathing. Then the suit reached out and grabbed my tether. The signal. We finally picked up a message from deep space, repeating the same phrase over and over. When we decoded it, it said, "We are already here."